Ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
How do you transfer your ranch to the next generation? We'll have some insight from the R.A. Brown Ranch in Texas. Plus, stockmanship tips that will help improve your cattle handling skills.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. In our news this week, following up on a record pace last year, U.S. beef exports are off to a strong start in 2014. The numbers show U.S. beef exports value was more than $514 million for the month of January, up 16% from a year ago. And the volume of U.S. beef shipped was up 13%. Top foreign markets for U.S. beef in January were Mexico, Japan, and Hong Kong. An announcement by McDonald's that it would begin sourcing verified, sustainable beef by the end of 2016 has our industry talking. As a contractor to the beef checkoff, NCBA has been engaged in the issue of sustainability for more than 2 years. Beef industry sustainability is a complex topic, but the CEO of NCBA, Forrest Roberts, is here today to tell us more about it and shed some light on why this topic is increasingly important to our industry. Forrest, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
You know, we've heard a lot about it, we've read a lot about it, this issue of sustainability. I'd like to have you define it and tell folks, why is this so important to our industry?
Well, Kevin, as you indicated, it is a very complex topic. And if you talk to folks, whether they're consumers or producers in any given country around the globe, especially here in the United States, it's a couple of words that means very different things to different people. So as an NCBA staff a couple of years ago, we had to step back and understand, is this something that might be a driver or a limiter of beef demand? And so when we think about those drivers of price or safety or nutrition, that fourth driver that starts to connect to image, the industry image of beef, is something that we think starts to link to those words, beef sustainability. So that's where we started. And we then further tried to say, what does this really mean if it has so many different points of impact? And at the end of the day, what we've really been able to do thus far, and we're still in this stage of really defining what this means for the U.S. beef industry, but we really want to anchor back to a couple of big points. One is that it has to have a balance. Any definition has to have a balance of the economic impact, the environmental impact, and the social impact in really being able to, in a relevant way, define beef sustainability so that beef producers can understand it. And in one way to really connect with beef producers in particular, farmers and ranchers all across this country, is to use the ability of beef sustainability as a means of further demonstrating continuous improvement over time. And if we start with those three principles and then finish part of the definition, it is about demonstrating continuous improvement over time, we think it starts to be more relevant starting with consumers and especially all the way back down to beef producers across this country.
Well, tell us more about NCBA's involvement in this issue of sustainability.
Well, a couple of years ago, we again had to step back and say, how do we approach this discussion? Starting with the perspectives from consumers, as well as, equally as important, as I just said, the perspectives from producers. And so if you look at NCBA's approach and our model of addressing complex issues, take one like beef safety over the past 10 to 15 years. We had to start with a foundation of research. We had to start with a base foundation of knowledge so that when we decided to engage in the process, we could engage in a meaningful and intelligent and effective manner. So as it relates to beef sustainability, we started with a strategy of innovation or the research or knowledge that we would then take at some point in time to a level of engagement with influencers around the world, especially here in the United States, and then ultimately bring that back to an education part of the strategy. So our focus has been over the past couple of years, as again, a contractor to the beef checkoff program, a multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment into the innovation side of our strategy. And that is a research project that has just been wrapped up, that is a first of its kind. It's never been done anywhere in the global beef community that does do and have this balance of the environmental impact, the social impact, but also, most importantly to producers, is the economic impact. And that research is really going to help us move to our next step, and that is the engagement strategy with influencers in this topic all around the world.
Now, this is a conversation that's not just happening in the United States, is that correct?
Absolutely. It is a conversation that's going on in every major beef producing country in the world. And so when you look at not just in North America to our trading partners to the north in Canada, but also in Mexico to the south, it's especially important in countries all across South America, even within Australia, New Zealand, and not to mention a lot of perspectives that are very different when you start to look at the European countries. So it is a conversation that is very global in nature. Our role is to engage in the global discussion in a way that brings the U.S. perspective to the table as you know, a very major piece of the global production equation.
Now, I've heard a lot about the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about that group?
Sure. GRSB, the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef, is an alliance, if you will. It's an organization that we are a member of. This was a decision in becoming a member of this effort or this initiative that we did not take lightly. We had discussions across our staff and our leadership, and an ultimate decision, it was made by our executive committee to, yes, we need to engage at the appropriate time, not only in the U.S., but at the global level, and this is how we are engaging at the global level through GRSB. GRSB has multiple constituents, so think of it in terms of an alliance that represents all of the players in the beef supply chain, starting with producers, which we from the U.S. are representing producers in this alliance. You have further packers, processors, retail, food service businesses that are involved in the global discussion on sustainability, and then also a sector of constituents called the civil societies. So think of an NGO like the World Wildlife Fund as representing that constituent. And then you have others like folks that are really experts in this area from the academic world. So you bring all of those stakeholders together, focused on a common outcome of how do you define guidelines, how do you define basically practices that do demonstrate continuous improvement over time when it comes to beef sustainability. That's what this effort is about. That's how we're plugging in, if you will, with our engagement at the global level, is through GRSB.
Now, I understand that they've recently released a set of draft principles and criterion for sustainable beef. I'd be interested to get your insight in what that means to us as producers, and what was NCBA's role in framing up those draft principles?
Well, it certainly is going to mean a lot to producers, not just here in the U.S., but all across the globe, especially the major beef-producing countries. And the guidelines that are coming from this set of principles and criteria is basically a global look at how we can look toward practices that do, in fact, demonstrate measurable outcomes that enhance beef sustainability over time. So we've engaged for, Kevin, probably the last 12 to 18 months in what is now developed as a draft set of guidelines. Those have now moved to about a 60-day public comment period, and we are really engaging with all of our producer stakeholders here in the United States to provide further additional comments on these global definitions. That will culminate here in about 6 months when those go from a draft state after this final public comment period to a final set of guidelines. So we're actively engaged in GRSB, actively engaging all of our beef producers across the country to participate in providing these comments so that when we get to the latter part of 2014, we've had abilities to impact the final set of definitions that will be viewed and looked at a global level. So very engaged.
Very good. Well, I appreciate this update. Very, very insightful. Thanks for coming to the show.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
If you'd like to be part of the sustainability discussion, why not join NCBA? To find out more, just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit the website beefusa.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Cattle are how we make our living, and we need them to be healthy, and we need them to perform.
We'll visit the Yon family to see how they prevent respiratory disease in their herd. Stay with us.
You're watching NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen on RFD TV.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
This isn't a job, it's a calling. Your hard work helps feed the world. Being linked to those who care for the land is our calling. For more than 175 years, John Deere has been a proud partner of the cattle business. That's why we bring you special NCBA member discounts, so you can get the right equipment, strong, rugged, versatile, and ready to work hard. Talk to your John Deere dealer to learn more about your NCBA member discounts. John Deere, committed to the land, committed to your success.
Welcome back. Many ranching families are dealing with the issue of generational transfer. When to do it, how to do it, and how to keep peace in the family while you do it. We're here today in Throckmorton, Texas at the R.A. Brown Ranch, visiting with the Brown family about their decision to transfer the ranch. And with me now is Rob Brown. Rob, thanks so much for agreeing to come on our show.
Well, it's proud to have you here.
We wanted to start, just give people a bit of a perspective about the history of this ranch. 5 generations, is that right?
That's right. We actually moved from Virginia after the Civil War. My great-grandfather was in the Black Horse Cavalry under Zeb Stewart, and they lost everything in Virginia and came to Texas and started over. And we've been in the cattle business since the late 1800s, and we love the business, and it's passed down from family to family, and we've been fortunate most of the time. We've grown it a little in each one's lifetime, but it's a chore to do today in the tax world that we're in. Got to make some decisions at some point.
Rob, 5 generations, over 100 years of ranching tradition. What events or circumstances led you to make this decision now?
We just feel like the death tax is a very unfair tax. I've worked all my lifetime to buy my sister out and grow this ranch, and to give it up for taxes is not what's in my plan, and that's why we made the decision to divide it to the 4 children at this time.
Some families in your position don't have any kids that want to come back to the ranch. In your case, you had 4 children that wanted to be involved in production agriculture. Did you find that a benefit or a challenge?
Yes, actually, they've grown some ranches of their own, and they've bought some land and know how to ranch, and they're very capable, and not everybody's, I'm sure, got that circumstance. Not all of them like the seed stock end of it. Most of them like commercial cows and stocker, and of course we built this ranch around the seed stock end of it.
So tell us this, what was the children's reaction when you came to them and said, it's time to make a transfer?
Well, I think they were pleased. We let them do most of the work, and they really worked well with one another to pacify the needs of and desires of each one that are different. And when it came to the cattle, Donald was the only one that really wanted to stay in the seed stock business, so we decided a dispersal sale was the best way to divide the cattle.
And tell us this, as you mentioned the kids took a real leadership role. Give us more about the process of how you went through the mechanics of deciding who got what, or what assignment did you give your children?
Well, we had them to make the decision that they wanted to do it and wanted to work together, and they did, and they sat down and divided it up in increments that best fit. Jody, my son-in-law, was the only farmer in the bunch, so he got the majority of the farmland, and Donald needed the facilities, the feedlot, and all here at the headquarters to to do a seed stock operation, and they really work together to give one another the needs that they prefer.
As you and Peggy approached this process, what were you most afraid of?
Well, we were very fortunate. I mean, we don't know how long our lifespans are going to be, and we were very fortunate to be in a position with some other economic income that we felt was satisfactory for us, and tax-wise, we just felt like it was the time to make the move, and the kids were trained and ready, and so it's worked well for us.
Is there any part of the process that you look back on and say that was a critical success factor, or this is something I would absolutely recommend to other people, a decision or an action that you took to make the process go smoother?
Well, I think the dispersal sale, as far as the cattle was in our circumstance, where they had a very recognizable seed stock program going, and I think that worked. It's a lot easier to divide those dollars than it was to divide those cows, and so it's worked very well for us.
So Rob, tell us this, is there anything you would have done differently looking back on the situation?
Well, history will, I guess, answer that for us, but we think it was a good move, and it's gone well, and we're very happy and satisfied.
So Rob, fast forward 10 years from now, how will you know that this decision has been a success at that point?
Well, we hope Peg and I are still healthy and alive and enjoying our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and be fun to watch them grow up under ranching circumstances like our children did. And we've always said it's not the most lucrative occupation there is, but it's sure the right place to raise kids and cattle and quarter horses, and we think growing up on a ranch is really important, and a lot of love in the family and working together, and I think it's a great choice.
And you've done a good job raising all three of those things, I might add. Well, one other question, actually, as you think about other families who are wrestling with the same issue that you wrestled with, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think they've got to do what fits their family, but passing this on tax-wise, we think is real important. My father passed away when he was 62 and hadn't done much tax planning, and I had to pay enough tax to almost buy the ranch again. And I just don't think that's a fair situation, and we think the kids can run it, and a lot of love in the family, and it'll work.
As we wrap up the interview today, you had made a comment once that as you make this decision, you're making this decision in order to keep the ranch in the family and the family in the ranch. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think just what it says. We want the kids to carry on in the ranching industry, and we're leaving them enough to get a start, and I think they could grow it, and with the love and talent that they have, I think we'll be in the ranching business for generations to come.
I would agree. Rob, thanks for your time, and thanks for all your sage wisdom today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very kindly.
And we'll be back right after this.
This is yours, and so is what grows there. Not theirs or theirs, yours. You need this to fight this and this to grow more this. Because the more of this you feed them, the less this you spend on that, which leaves more of this here. Don't let them take this from you. Chaparral takes care of weeds and brush, and that's that.
There's something wrong. His head is down. He's clearly stressed. He's worried sick about BRD. That's why there's prescription Zactran for BRD treatment and control in high-risk cattle. Get a rapid response plus 10-day treatment and control in a single dose, so you can stop worrying and get back to business. For use in cattle only, do not treat cattle within 35 days of slaughter. because a discard time in milk has not been established. Do not use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, or in calves to be processed for veal. The effects of Zactran on bovine reproductive performance, pregnancy, and lactation have not been determined. Don't worry yourself sick. Talk to your veterinarian about a real alternative for BRD treatment and control. Because it's critical, it's Zactran from Mariel, a leading animal health company.
Welcome back. Cattle producers put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making their operations successful. The last thing any of them want to deal with in their herd is respiratory disease. It's a significant animal health issue and costs producers an average of $15 per calf per year. That equates to over $1 billion problem for our industry. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter visited South Carolina to see how one family operation works to prevent calf respiratory disease.
We're a family-operated Angus seed stock operation. We run about 900 brood cows on 2,500 acres. Also have a herd of commercial cattle.
Our primary purpose for existence is to produce Angus bulls for the commercial cattle industry. And pretty much everything we do revolves around that and trying to create a total picture to produce bulls that'll go out and work for people, that'll be trouble-free, and go out and produce the type of cattle that the industry needs today.
Kevin and Lydia Yan run a family-owned and operated Angus seed stock outfit in Ridge Spring, South Carolina. The Yans take a lot of pride not only in raising top-quality cattle, but also in their customer service.
It's very important to us that the cattle, when they leave here, go perform and do well for their new owners. And we want to do everything in our power to make those cattle perform well.
With their livelihood riding on producing healthy cattle that meet their customers' high expectations, the Yans can't risk a respiratory disease setback in their herd.
I can just imagine from a cost standpoint, from a reassurance standpoint, to be able to tell our customers that everything's under control and that the health is good, and then to know that we've had a respiratory outbreak would really be a problem for me to be able to stand behind our cattle.
Cattle are how we make our living, and we need them to be healthy, and we need them to perform, and we have sales scheduled twice a year, and we need cattle to sell. A respiratory outbreak would be very detrimental.
Keeping their herd healthy and profitable means doing everything they can to prevent respiratory disease. Kevin and Lydia say a good overall herd health program is the foundation to a successful operation.
We don't have a problem, we don't want a problem, and we don't want our customers to have a problem. Our goal is to sell bulls to people that go out, work for them, that make them want to tell their neighbor, I got this bull, he's great, I hadn't had any trouble with him, I'm going back to get my next one from there.
We have a very stringent herd health program here at Yan Family Farms. We work very closely with our local veterinarian, Dr. Jeff Norden, scheduling and mapping out our herd health program throughout the year.
It takes a team approach, and you have to break it down in components and work out a good game plan in order to successfully manage it.
Every year, their game plan includes a strong vaccination program to ensure their cattle are protected from respiratory disease from the very beginning.
The vaccination program is the critical component of a herd health program. Without a good vaccination program, without a good vaccine, you're probably doomed from the start. I don't think that you can really overemphasize the importance of a good vaccination program.
A respiratory vaccine is just the basis of what we do. They work. When we wean cattle, we don't need to worry about a respiratory blow up. And when we use good products and do it in the proper manner, we haven't had problems with respiratory disease.
The basic respiratory diseases that cattle need to be vaccinated for are IBR, BVD type 1 and 2, BRSV, PI3 or parainfluenza 3, and then Mannheimia hemolytica and Pasteurella multocida.
The Yans use the Vista line of vaccines as part of their vaccination program and fortunately have never had to address any respiratory disease setback in their herd.
We want our cattle to be bulletproof when they leave here. We've used Vista, been very pleased with the results. It has worked well.
This is a very good choice for respiratory vaccine because it offers the most complete protection on the market today. And it's also one dose, so it's not a vaccine that has to be boosted every time. And it's the only vaccine that's on the market that is modified live for the virals and an avirulent live on the Pastorella portion.
Vista is a good vaccine. I think you need a vaccine that's certainly efficacious. You need a vaccine that has a long duration of immunity. You need a vaccine that has a low reactivity rate. And you also need one that's cost efficient.
It could just be really devastating if you did have a respiratory outbreak. And fortunately, we have not been in that situation. And I attribute that to the fact that we've had such a good prevention program and that our vaccines have worked and been effective.
We'll be back with more from Jan Family Farms right after this. Stay with us.
Its arrival is as routine as the truck that brings the next load of calves. You stand ready, waiting, watching for symptoms. A revolutionary new weapon in hand. Unique chemistry and hard-hitting active ingredient. Longer duration in the respiratory tract. Rapid absorption. Join the Zaprevolution. Zaprevo, Tilda Pearson. See your veterinarian.
To ensure your seeds become strong stands, give your soil the right preparation before you plant. Improve your growing environment with agronomically designed equipment from Case IH, like the new Ecolo Tiger 875 disc ripper, engineered to manage tough residues and shatter root-limiting compaction for improved nutrient uptake and better stands with more fully developed plants at harvest. The world of farming is changing. Will you be ready? Learn more at caseih.com.
Welcome back. Let's return to South Carolina and reporter Brian Baxter for more on how the Jan family works to keep their calves healthy.
The Jans rely on Vista and Vision not only because they effectively prevent respiratory disease, but also because they're less stressful on the cattle.
We vaccinate calves at 3 to 5 months of age, and then again 2 to 3 weeks prior to weaning to get that immune response, getting those cattle ready to be weaned, using just Vista once and Vision at weaning.
After we vaccinate calves, we don't see the calves go through what we would think of as a typical stress period. They still seem pretty much just like they did the day before you worked them after you've run them through the chute and vaccinated them, done whatever else, tattooing or whatever else you were doing to them that day.
When we look at respiratory protection, what we're actually trying to do is immunize the animal against the threats that it's got to meet. But we don't want to immunize it with a vaccine that's going to cost us so much in production. And Vista appears to be a very mild vaccine. As you heard Lydia say earlier, they've seen no stress from the vaccine.
A comprehensive vaccination program is just one component to preventing respiratory disease. A strong nutrition program, starting with calves nursing soon after birth to ensure they're getting colostrum, is critical in order for the cattle to respond effectively to the vaccines.
Colostrum quality is most important. We know that a calf just needs to get up, nurse, and hopefully he's going to have a very high quality colostrum, but we feel like nutrition and a good herd health vaccination program improves the quality of that colostrum.
When we vaccinate, we think the fact that we have taken care of them from all the other standpoints makes that whole vaccine process easier on them and the vaccine work effectively.
Despite the best vaccination and nutrition programs, calves can still pick up viruses and contract pneumonia. Dr. Newcomb says observing the animals on a regular basis is important to diagnosing and treating the disease early.
It's important because respiratory disease can travel pretty fast between the animals. So once you start seeing 1 or 2 animals, you'll start seeing the whole herd start getting an outbreak. Once an animal contracts respiratory disease, that can affect his production throughout his lifetime.
The Jans know that with any program, it takes many components working together to be successful and effective. While a strong vaccination program is important for ensuring the overall health of the herd, they say it's just one piece of the puzzle.
There isn't any one area that is going to make our herd more productive. It's the genetic component, it's the nutritional component, it's the herd health component. Parasite control is the basis for having a good herd health program, as cattle with parasites aren't going to respond to the vaccines and get the immune response that we're looking for. It's a system that it takes all of them done properly for our herd to be productive.
They all work together as pieces of the puzzle. If one component of the puzzle is missing, then we have an incomplete product to sell. So we try to fill in all the blanks and put all the pieces together that can help us create a product that's trouble-free for our customers.
If you look at nutrition, you look at parasite control, you look at stress management, those are all the foundations that you have to build a herd health program on. You want to minimize stress, you want to maximize the calf's immunity, and you want to maximize the calf's nutritional status. And when you vaccinate, you want to use the most complete vaccine out there on the market today, and that's going to be Vista.
Caring for their cattle and staying up to date on their herd health program is a way of life for Kevin and Lydia Jan, and it's a quality that many people take notice of.
Kevin and Lydia, they're go-getters. They pay attention to detail. They go the extra mile. They grasp new concepts, and they're willing to change depending upon the market conditions.
We've just been entrusted to be stewards of the cattle and the land, and we take that very seriously, and we feel very blessed to get to do it every day.
We get to see better scenery and more miracles every day than, most people get to see in a lifetime. It's just what we love doing, and I hope we get to do it for a long time to come.
Reporting from Jan Family Farms in Ridge Spring, South Carolina, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
To learn more about the Vista and Vision vaccines from Merck Animal Health, visit the website mercanimalhealthusa.com. Still ahead, tips on working your cattle the low-stress way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Merck Animal Health, we are dedicated to improving the health and well-being of animals through innovative science-based solutions, products, treatments, and services to ensure a dependable, affordable food supply. From cattleman to consumer, from farm to family, we're with you every step of the way. We work where you work. What drives you drives us. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
New Holland equipment is built smart for the way you farm, and the New Holland Big Baler is smart for the way you make big square bales. The new Big Baler Series large square balers from New Holland use the latest technologies to deliver dense, uniform bales in every crop at high speed. Wide maxi sweep pickups grab hay or straw in the toughest windrows, feeding it into the bale chamber, where the New Holland density management system makes each bale to your exact specifications. Operators can also choose from a variety of crop cutter systems to cut crop just the way you need it to maximize feed utilization and mixing times. And if you're looking for precision, ask your New Holland dealer about options to monitor and control weight, moisture, and RFID bale identification. Any way you look at it, the New Holland Big Baler is smarter and faster to get the job done right the first time. Visit your New Holland dealer to learn more about the complete lineup of New Holland equipment, in addition to all of the benefits available to cattle producers.
Often, one of the tougher days on a cattle operation is when it's time to work a big group of cattle through a chute. It can be stressful, both on the people and the animals. But with the right stockmanship skills, working cattle can be a whole lot easier. We have some insight on that from stockmanship expert Ron Gill in Texas.
As you start to bring cattle into an alleyway or the next corral, whatever it might be, The best thing to do is push them away, once again, from where you want them to go, get your movement started, and bring them forward. This particular design is similar to what a lot of people have done for a long time, and they try to angle a fence to where they can funnel the cattle into this area. What it actually does, though, is kind of prohibit the handler from being where he needs to be when the cattle start coming around. But that angle keeps you from being up at the front, putting pressure on the cattle you'd like to see. This one is not a severe angle, so it's not too bad, but once again, it does kind of limit. I'd rather have square pins than I would have one at an angle coming into an alleyway. This is another different situation because we have to go around a 90-degree turn coming in this alleyway and send the cattle up. So we don't bring too many at a time because they'll wind up balked at some point, and then you lose your motion and movement going on up. So I try to fill the front section and then come in and fill behind them so we don't have too many cattle in the alleyway. So now I'm just going to go toward these heifers. Once again, I have to get some movement in them, so I might as well get it away from them and get them positioned where they need to go. Once I get some of them started around, and hopefully I can put enough pressure on them to going in the alleyway. Once again, I'm just going to put pressure, step back, let some more flow. If I want to stop the amount I have in there at one time, then I can take this group on up. If you had enough people helping you, somebody could come behind you and fill the rest of the alleyway. And working an alleyway, you want to kind of work it like a dog or border collie might, go back and forth across if you're working by yourself. Once you get the cattle up here, they're then quiet and ready to go through the processing area. It's interesting when you do that. Look behind us, we have cattle actually filling into the alleyway behind us when nobody has asked them to come. All right, as we are ready to reload the sweep tub and crowd alley, we don't want to use the sweep tub or a bud box or any other crowding area as a place to warehouse cattle. It's a flow-through part of the system. The sweep tub allows you to use the gate to go ahead and push some cattle around that don't want to flow through. But in this scenario, we're not going to put anything in there until we're ready for them to go into the chute or into the lead up to the chute. So now we're going to do the same thing we've been doing out in the pasture, in the corrals. I'm going to go from here to the cattle, push them away from them, get some motion and flow started in the cattle. So as I step to them, they're going to start moving away from me. I don't want to hit them with this gate, so I'm going to give them a little time to come out of that corner. Once we get the flow started, we wouldn't even have to open or close that gate every time, but once again, as I step to them, I want to get flow started. Try to bring about 5 at a time on these size of cattle, so I can step forward, close my gate. As the cattle move forward, then I'm going to push this gate toward them. They'll start coming around. Put pressure on the cattle right here to get my flow started. Then I can bring the others to them. But we can do all that without any noise, any pressure, any hot shots, anything. We can get our flow started through our chute. I also noticed I didn't use the crowd gate of the sweep tub at all. All we did was use it to position the cattle to go in the lead up to the chute. A lot of times in systems with a sweep tub, we'll have cattle and we won't have a return box or something like that, so we'll just put cattle into the sweep tub. And if the person that's working the sweep tub gate stays back here behind them, he's actually drawing their attention away from the opening. The best way to do that is whoever puts the cattle in the sweep tub to close the gate and leave it, then let whoever's in front walk down the side and get some motion started in these cattle. This is very good representation. It takes a little more time to get cattle to flow out of one of these than it would if we actually set it up right and didn't use it to hold cattle as they come through. But even though it's a little slower, the cattle still float out of the tub when we use our body position. All right, we're ready for more cattle to come into the sweep tub. You can swing this gate away. Now I'm not going to let the cattle just come in right now. I'm not set up really to do that, to get my flow like I like it to be. Step to them, let them come around. I'm going to let this one come with them. Once again, as we get them pushed to the other corner, then they'll be ready to set up and ready to come back around the gate. All right, once again, we want our cattle flowing through this system. We don't want to hold them in here, so I'll wait till they come to the back. Let them start working themselves out of that corner. Need to put pressure on the front to get my flow started. If I don't work on the front, these cattle won't start in this chute because it doesn't have the right angle. Once that happens, then I can bring more cattle. Now here I'm holding my position. You could do it with a gate, but why not do it with your body position? Once again, there's no stress on the cattle. All I have to do is back up, let the rest of them come in. So if we can establish that flow, position ourselves correctly, the cattle will learn how to work.
Now, to find out more about low-stress livestock handling and the Beef Quality Assurance Program, visit bqa.org or visit our website. That's cattlemen@cattlemen.org. Still to come, we'll have a word from Baxter Black. And next, we'll head to the kitchen for another great beef recipe. We'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right, where it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots. When you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real and feeding my family a home-cooked meal. That's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
It's a fast-paced world these days for everyone, especially for families. And making meals fast and portable is sometimes required. Pam Nash, one of the recipe testers with the Beef Culinary Center, joins us now with just the thing for busy lifestyles. Pam, looks like you're going to build something that is a family favorite of ours when we go to livestock shows, and that's on-the-go beef tacos. Is that right?
That's right. This recipe is a lot of fun. It's quick and easy. It's easy to customize to anybody's taste, and they're just super fun. You can do them at barbecues, you can do them at birthday parties. They're really quick and easy to do.
Well, let's get started.
Okay, so we took a pound of ground beef, and I used my favorite taco seasoning mix and 3/4 cup of water, put it in a pan, cooked it all up. You cook your beef to 160 for food safety, and mix it all together, and you get your beef mixture.
Sure.
Once you get your beef mixture, take your favorite chip.
Yep.
Today we have nacho cheese chips.
Sure.
And then you can fill it with beef and then fill it with all of your favorite toppings.
And again, no dishes to deal with when we're done.
No dishes, easy to do.
Very
so first, we'll go ahead and put in a couple spoonfuls or forkfuls here.
You bet. Or half a bowl,
or
whatever
half
you
a bowl,
prefer.
whatever you want to do of your beef.
I know my wife normally, we cook this in advance, and then she has it in the refrigerator or cooler, and then we just put it in a crock pot to warm it up in time for lunch meal.
For lunch, absolutely, absolutely. So once you get your beef in there, you can top it with your toppings. Today here, we have tomatoes.
Yeah.
I have shredded cheddar cheese. I have avocados, diced avocados. I have some chopped up cilantro.
Oh, yeah.
I have shredded lettuce. I have salsa, of course.
You bet.
And I have some green onions.
It's delicious.
And if I was making this for me to eat after my beef, I'm going to start with diced tomatoes.
Okay, perfect.
And just throw those in.
Oh, sure. Take all the tomatoes. All right, what else?
And then I'm going to put in my shredded cheddar cheese because I love cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, I really love cheese.
You love cheese.
And then I'm going to finish off with avocado.
Well, you just will take all the avocados as well.
Avocados.
That's delicious.
And then that's your serving bowl as well. That's how you eat it.
Now, speaking of serving bowl, it looks like you did a couple variations that you could actually eat at home, but these look a little different. Can you tell us more about these?
Absolutely. We did 5 different variations on this. This first one we have is our chili cheese taco, and we used a corn chip, and instead of the taco seasoning, we used chili seasoning in the beef. The second one we have here is our Mediterranean. Instead of the taco seasoning, we use 2 teaspoons of Greek seasoning, and then we use a multi-grain chip. The third one we have is our ranch. We take out the taco seasoning, we use a ranch packet into the beef, and we use a ranch chip. The fourth one we have is the meat and potatoes taco. So we take out the taco seasoning, we use a gravy mix in the beef, and then we serve it over your favorite potato chips. And the last one of my favorites, is the cheeseburger taco. So we take out the taco seasoning, we actually add ketchup and mustard into the beef, and then we serve it over our favorite cheese puff.
That is delicious and so easy, and as you say, so much fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for bringing us these great recipe with beef.
Thank you.
For on-the-go beef tacos and other great beef recipes, visit the website beefitswhatsfordinner.com, or you can always find them on our website at cattlementocattlemen.org.
We don't sit idle, wondering how we're going to build a better truck. We get out there and walk a mile, thousands of miles, in the footsteps of the guys we build trucks for. The groundbreaking Ram Heavy Duty, with 30,000 pounds of towing and 850 pound-feet of torque.
This business can take time away and become more of your family than your actual family. My days were tough. I had a lot of doctoring, a lot of pulling. Now our days on the feed yard are happy days. It's more about looking at the cattle and enjoying what we're producing versus the alternative, which is pull and treat and bang our head against the wall. We have never wavered from Draxon. We've seen the benefits just keep getting better and better.
With the advent of third-party verification, cowmen are able to add value to their calves by preconditioning or early weaning, or seek specialty markets like all natural, sugar-free, or do source and age verification for export. Well, that's what IMI does, and it's not as expensive as you might think. Call them. What do you got to lose? IMI Global's green ear tag. It's like having Honest Abe co-sign your note. IMIGlobal.com.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
Whenever we introduce a new horse to the ranch, it often takes a while for him to adjust. Where we live, the country's pretty brushy, meaning catclaw, mesquite, and cactus of all kinds. It is also riven with steep sides and arroyos and canyons and jagged rocks. Well, I traded for a young horse and took her out for her first gather. We'd ridden about 2 miles with her snorting and stopping and sliding and whinnying for other horses to save her. We slid off a slope and hit a small arroyo at the bottom. She stood shaking. I was egging her on, but to no avail, she wouldn't move. Completely overwhelmed, she laid down in the sand like a cow. Well, I sat still in the saddle with my stirrups on the ground
And we had a short conversation, about a minute, I guess, and then she took a deep breath and rose to the occasion. The South Dakota Badlands can overpower a horse too. Shorty told me he took a green gelding out to check cows on his Pine Ridge lease one day. Rough country, mostly rocky and uneven. And off to the side, he spotted a big old bull. Well, Shorty decided to push the bull on down the creek. So the bull started down the steep trail into the creek bed, but then he turned back the wrong way. Well, Shorty loped back up the creek bank, hee-hawing and hollering and waving his arms to shoosh the bull. But all the hoopla spooked the horse, who jumped the bank and landed a straddle of the bull. Well, the bull let out down the creek, the horse rolled off the bull, and Shorty rolled off the horse. Well, the frightened horse climbed the bank and took off. Shorty topped the rim, and there stood this inexperienced novice pony, eyes wide and nostrils flaring, not 20 feet away. Somewhere in his little equine brain, he was processing his options. The bull, the rock, the trailer, mother, and home. Not having any experience in his young life to compare this to, he actually walked up to Shorty, who touched the side of his face and sighed. I guess he just needed a hug. We all do sometimes. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter, for your wit and wisdom. One of the highlights of the Cattle Industry Convention each year is the Best of Beef Breakfast. It's a chance to honor people in the cattle business who are making a difference today, as well as those whose past contributions have helped shape our industry. This year, Don Butler, a former president of the National Cattlemen, was given the Swan Family Leadership Award. Afterwards, we asked Don to reflect on the importance of leadership.
Somebody's got to lead the parade. And if you're not the leader, guess where you are? You're at the back of the pack. But it's been my privilege, and my people that I work with seem to think that I can pull things together. I like to be a consensus person, and I found that when I was with the Department of Agriculture in Arizona, that if you can work together, you get a lot more done. I sometimes wonder how I got to where I've been and the positions that I've been fortunate enough to have and hold. But as I told the staff in Phoenix at the department, that there are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be good days and bad, and to hang in there.
Congratulations to Don Butler. Next week on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll have news from the 2014 Beef Safety Summit. We'll update you on beef industry research, plus another visit with the cowboy poet Baxter Black, and the latest cattle industry news that can affect your bottom line. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Kevin Oxter, and we'll see you right back here next week on RFD TV.